to the pricing, but in terms of the bottleneck in limited capacity and the occasional congestion in NAIA or in key gateways like Mactan, Cebu, how is the coordination and joint planning between the DOT and the DOTR? And in fact, because you also mentioned the lack of infrastructure funding, tourism infrastructure, how do we coordinate with key agencies like the DOTR and DPWH?
Madam Chair, as early as 2022, we had already proposed a convergence between the DOT and the DOTR in order that the DOTR may be in receipt of, first, the wish list of the DOT emanating from the requests of our local stakeholders from the regions to our tour operators and tourists as far as the need to improve airport and seaport facilities. That is why we signed a convergence document with the DOTR, and thankfully this has resulted in positive improvements as far as our airport infrastructure is concerned. A concrete example is the recent expansion of the Siargao terminal, which commenced subsequent to the visit of former Secretary Vince Dizon and myself to the island. We have also seen, through our President's aggressive push for privatization, the privatization of essential gateways, such as NAIA, which will result in expanded capacity to the number of passengers per year, privatization of Bohol, Laguindingan, hopefully Iloilo, to include as well Dumaguete and Bicol. Even as we continue to coordinate with already privatized airports such as Mactan, Cebu, as well as Clark International Airport. But the simple reality is that in terms of the availability of air seats to the Philippines compared to its competitors in the ASEAN, the Philippines ranks at number 6. And the 99% dependency of the Philippines on air travel, therefore, makes it severely difficult to compete in terms of our neighbors who enjoy international landlocked borders. With this, we have been very aggressive in our routes development team that coordinates with the DOTR, CAAP, and CAB. And this has resulted in the mounting of several new international routes that include San Francisco, Paris, forthcoming for New Delhi, Vancouver, Brisbane, as well as the inclusion and resumption of flights from our ASEAN neighbors and Asia as well.
Madam Chair, it was disclosed alarmingly that the tourism roads infrastructure projects, I believe, will be zeroed out. Is that correct?
For 2026, there is zero funding for new roads and around 3 billion for continuing roads, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, may I ask the good Secretary if this is a primary concern of the DOT, how did we coordinate this with the DPWH? How can we perhaps strengthen this so that DPWH will also prioritize the concerns of our good department, the DOT?
Madam Chair, since 2022 and every few months thereafter, we have written and coordinated with DPWH persistently in order to secure funding for new and continuing roads. And the latest of which was our request for 6.2 billion pesos in funding for new roads for 2026. Unfortunately, this did not fall within the priorities of the DPWH, and the DOT, not being the mother agency of these funds, can only do so much. But we do continue to endorse any request for tourism road that is fully vetted by and endorsed by our regions.
Well, Madam Chair, with the former DOTR Secretary Vince Dizon now as the Secretary for DPWH. It's my hope, this representation hopes that the DPWH will provide or give more priority to the requirements and the needs of the DOT. For my next question, Madam Chair, as we've discussed, tourism road infrastructure is at zero funding for next year, and our branding has also been severely reduced, and that our national competitors have largely surpassed their pre-pandemic arrival numbers. Given what it is, and given what our NEP is for the Department of Tourism, what specific strategies are in place to be more competitive and to address our concerns when it comes to, obviously, to tourism?
Well, first and foremost, the strategy is to plead with Congress for more funds. Because the more that you invest in tourism, the more that it will yield for the country, whether it's in terms of arrivals or jobs or contributions to the economy. That being said, we continue to be guided by our National Tourism Development Plan and heavily rely on collaboration between the public and the private sector, whether it pertains to our continued advocacies for investments in tourism infrastructure, expansion of connectivity, the maximization of international and domestic tourism by way of heavy promotions through joint promotion exercises with our domestic and international partners, or coming up with flagship tourism initiatives that ensure that the benefits of tourism are felt across our destinations. These include our Philippine Experience program, our continued investments in dive tourism, gastronomy tourism, film tourism, heritage, wellness, cruise, and the conscious approach towards positioning and reintroducing the Philippines not merely as a one-dimensional destination, but one that covers a full experience for any type of traveler. Given our challenges as far as headwinds are concerned pertaining to markets such as Korea as well as China, we have also made a conscious effort to aggressively pursue opportunity markets such as India, which is why the Philippines is now visa-free for Indian nationals coming into the country. For the first time in many years, there will be a flight from Delhi to Manila beginning October 1. And when we were there in India accompanying the president for his state visit, we had around 13 meetings in one day, consisting of various stakeholders from airline, Bollywood, travel and tour operators, hotel investments, and the like. Since there is a projected demand for hotel rooms at around 456,000 by 2028, we also work very heavily with both TIAZA as well as potential investors and the existing private sector to increase our hotel room capacity across our destinations. And that is guided by our Philippine Hotel Industry Strategic Action Plan, which we produced together with the Philippine Hotel Owners Association.
Now, Madam Chair, correct me if I'm wrong, our contribution to the GDP by the Department of Tourism is about roughly 9%, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And Madam Chair, the proposed 2026 NEP for the department is 3.7 billion pesos.
Yes, Madam Chair.
So, Madam Chair, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe the department's budget is not only so relatively small compared to other departments, but I think it accounts for half of 1% or 0.5% of the total budget. I believe this isn't commensurate to the value that, as the good secretary shares, it is a high-yielding economic driver. And the good secretary also mentioned that tourism is not just about leisure, it's about livelihood and about nation building. And as my predecessor, the former Congressman Paul Daza shared, the budget is not just a fiscal allocation, but a strategic investment in our nation's future. So this representation would like it to be known, and I would like it to show on the record that I fully support the Department of Tourism, and it is my hope that we can appeal to this august body that we can not only support our DOT family, but also help increase their budget for what is equitable and I believe correct and right for the investment of our nation's future. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Representative Nico Dizon, for your manifestation. I now give the floor to Deputy Speaker Bambi Amano. Okay. Representative Salvador Plato. Not around. Representative Vice Chair, my fellow Vice Chair Ando Aminal. Around. Okay. How about Representative Gina De Venecia? Here. Vice Chair Edwin Ongchuan? Wala rin. Representative Son Shimura? Wala rin. Representative Roy Loyola? Not here also. Deputy Majority Leader Howard Ginto? Vice Chair Carl Carey? You're recognized.
Good morning, everyone. I want to express my support for increasing the Department of Tourism's budget. The Secretary's statement from last year still resonates with me. Every peso invested in tourism is an investment in our nation's future, the lives of millions of Filipinos. In 2023, the Philippines generated around 760 billion in income from inbound tourism, a 9.04% increase from 697.46 billion. Eastern Visayas also alone contributed 39.33 billion due to effective branding and promotions. The department succeeded with a budget of only 2.6 billion for the fiscal year 2024. The President recognized the importance of tourism branding and promotions by restoring the proposed 500 million budget, which was later reduced to 100 million in the 2025 DA. I hope this does not happen again. Every province in our country is worth showcasing, and we need the proper branding and promotions, which the DOT is effectively and rigorously doing. The Department of Tourism is doing a great job. Thus, I strongly support not only maintaining but increasing the budget of the Department of Tourism. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Carl Carey. I now recognize Representative Joboy Aquino.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Secretary and DOT family. I'll just go straight to the point. I'd just like to talk to our regional director, Region 13. If yeah, I seldom see her. Actually, ma'am, iniwan niya to sa akin kahapon. Ang dami. Pero sa trip ito, but I'm only asking for a very minimal, very little amount, no? sayang lang